And welcome into this week's episode of Jacket Sports Weekly. I'll be the only host today, Anthony DeFilippo. Today we'll be sitting down with Michael McKenzie to talk about the recent happenings in outdoor track and field. We'll be talking with Mia Hankins about a new sport here on Jacket Sports Weekly, tennis, and then baseball and softball with Dean Shazer and Seth Adams. All that and more here on Jacket Sports Weekly.
Welcome to Jacket Sports Weekly, Waynesburg University's weekly sports show where we cover the best of the best in athletics. Our analysts discuss a multitude of highlight plays such as touchdown passes.
And Barber's going to throw again, one-on-one. Does he got it in him? That's a catch! Tyler Richmond with flags thrown everywhere makes the catch! Touchdown, Waynesburg!
And ones.
This was low, Waynesburg's going to get it! Suggs is going to pull away here, go for the layup, and it's going to fall in and one! PJ Suggs!
And home runs.
Higgins drives one to left field. The left fielder running back, and that ball is out of here. Grace Higgins.
Join us every Wednesday to see what's new in Waynesburg University athletics.
Here on our first segment of Jacket Sports Weekly, it's Michael McKenzie returning to talk about outdoor track and field. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me, Anthony.
So the Westminster Invitational just took place. How about you start us off by breaking all that down?
So starting off with some of the notable finishes for the men, because that's how we always like to start off the segment on Jacket Sports Weekly for track and field, not highlight some of the top finishers. Quentin Weaver, starting off with the men, finished third in a 66-man field in the 800 meter with a 1 minute 59.23 second time. He placed 16th in the 5K run at 16 minutes 34 seconds and some change. Kyle Casella, third in the 400 meter hurdles at 59.36 seconds, so a good finish for Kyle Casella along with Quentin Weaver. Jacob Harker, 8th in the discus throw at 40.33 meters and 10th in the shot put at 13.58 meters. A bit of a step down on the shot put after he broke the record in the previous meet, but now that the record's broken, obviously for the outdoor, you're putting all your chips into the PAC Outdoor Championships shot put throw for Jacob Harker. Looking at some of the other notable finishes, at least personally, Noah Atterbury, personal bests and team season bests in the 100 meter and 200 meter runs. In the 100, he ran an 11.66, and in the 200, he ran a 23.61. Ethan Wilson with a personal best in the 1500 meter run at 4 minutes 24 seconds and change. And then the 4x4 relay team of Dagan Williams, Kyle Casella, Quentin Weaver, and Aaron Sanders, they finished fourth in that event with a 3 minute 39.80 second time. Now moving on to the women, Grace Tanksley, the first place finish in the entire event in the 10K run, a personal record for her as well at 39 minutes 19 seconds and change. That's 6th all-time in Waynesburg outdoor track and field history, 2nd in the conference this season among all competitors that have run the 10K run. Erin DeLong finished 3rd in the 10K run at 43 minutes 29 seconds and change, so 2 top 3 finishes in the 10K for the Waynesburg women. Natalie Double finished 5th in the javelin throw. Meg Berry finished 7th in the javelin throw, so another event where Waynesburg with 2 high places in that event. Natalie Double's throw went 36.48 meters. Meg's went 35.12 meters, and then Maggie Clare 15th in the shot put at 11.03 meters, a good throw for her. And then Chloe Fields, a personal best in the 1500 meter run at 5 minutes 21 seconds and change.
That's a thorough breakdown. Now, we're moving forward into this Grove City mini meet. What are you expecting to see there? I know it's not going to have the full implications that a normal meet would have.
I'm interested. I don't know what to expect from this meet because it's in the name, Mini Invitational. This is the stretch of the regular season before the outdoor championships where there's a good amount of meets packed within these next few weeks. I think a couple weeks ago they started their 6 meets in 5-week stretch. This is kind of that Mini Invitational, that one you throw in there where some of the top athletes like maybe a Quentin Weaver or a Kyle Casella or Grace Tanksley, Ella Rochelle, somebody, takes a breather, takes the meet off, and we start to see some of those other names we haven't seen necessarily a lot. Maybe this is a meet where a guy like Noah Atterbury can finish at the top of the event in total and not just finish with personal and season bests for the team. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case or if all the competitors for Waynesburg are going to compete in this, either run, throw, whatever their event is, and we see a lot of top finishes for Waynesburg. I think if all their top athletes compete, they don't really sit anybody. Nobody takes that breather or rest. If they're combating injury, obviously I think they're going to sit out this meet. But if you're fully healthy and pretty much the entire team that is healthy competes, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of first place, top 3, top 5 finishes in this Grove City Mini Invitational. I'm interested to see how the team and how these individual athletes approach the meet, though.
Well, that's kind of interesting. You already touched on it. But under that same line of thinking, how will these two teams, men's and women's, approach the next couple weeks as they prepare for PACs?
I think the biggest thing is keeping your bodies healthy. You got to make sure that you're in shape. The Outdoor Championships coming up in May, that's what we're looking towards. That's what the culmination really of the season is for the majority of these athletes. Obviously, there are some like Quentin Weaver, Ella Rochelle, Jacob Parker, and others that have further aspirations, maybe NCAA region placements, even more meets like that. Obviously, there's Mount Union Last Chance meets and stuff like that after the PAC Outdoor Championships for some of the competitors that aren't like, Quentin Weaver finishing at the top, Ella Rochelle setting a program record, Jacob Parker setting a program record. But I think you're looking towards the Outdoor Championships now. All of a sudden, it is within your range, if you want to use a metaphor, with what's left in your season. You can start to see those Outdoor Championships creeping up on both the men and the women. So the biggest thing is staying healthy, but you obviously want to make sure that you're in peak form. You can perform at your very best. If that means taking this mini invitational at Grove City off, so be it. But you're looking towards the Outdoor Championships. You got to keep your body in shape. You got to make sure that you're at your best for the Outdoor Championships coming up. We're starting to look towards those now.
Are there any athletes you want to see or you think people should highlight moving into the next couple of weeks before the PACs?
I said it earlier in the season, right before the season. Erin DeLong, she had a strong finish to the indoor season. Now third place finish in the 10K run. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see her name pop up a little more on the press releases and on the top finishes for Waynesburg. Also looking for Noah Atterbury. The personal best in the 100 and the 200, team season bests in both of those. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to break those personal bests, set those team season bests in the coming meets. Those two athletes, aside from the obvious ones that we've already highlighted a number of times in this conversation, those two, the woman in Erin DeLong and then the man in Noah Atterbury, those are the two I'm looking for outside of the normal athletes that we highlight pretty much every week.
Yeah, talk about kind of Quentin Weaver, what his victory, what kind of impact that had on the team in the Westminster Invitational.
I think you start to see Quentin Weaver finish in the top 3. You start to see him get those first place finishes like we're so used to Quentin Weaver doing. That starts to settle in like, okay, we're in the thick of the season. Now Quentin's going. It's time for the rest of us to go as well. We got to get behind him. We got to get some of those top finishes because now you're also worrying about that team score a little bit. Obviously with track and field, it's probably the most individual-oriented sport. That's not to say that there's no team aspect in track and field. There's obviously a team aspect for both the men and the women in track and field, but it's the most individually centric sport, I would say. But still, the team is going to want to get behind Quentin Weaver now that we're starting to see those top 3, top 5 finishes. He'd been getting notable finishes the entire outdoor season, but he hadn't been getting those first place, third place, second place, just top 5 finishes like he did pretty much the entire home stretch of last season. Now that you start to see him get those top 3 finishes, now that signals we're in the home stretch, got to be performing at our best now. Quentin's going, we got to go as well.
Michael, I appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you in the next episode.
Thank you, Anthony.
We have a new sport coming up. Mia Hankins will talk tennis next here on Jacket Sports Weekly. It's time to talk about a new sport on this segment of Jacket Sports Weekly. Welcome Mia Hankins to the desk to talk everything women's and men's tennis. Welcome.
Thank you, and happy birthday, Flip.
I appreciate
birthday
that.
Segment.
Yeah, a little shameless plug here on the desk. Okay, so let's get right to it. The men's had matches against Grove City, Franciscan, and Westminster. What did you see? What were some of the key takeaways from those matches?
So just some results really quick because I do have a pretty long list of those. So starting with Grove City, overall men's tennis lost 7-0 against Grove City. They won 2 doubles matches and 6 singles matches, however, so they did have a little bit of success here and there. Ethan Clausen and Sam Norris did win a doubles match, both of those being freshmen. Both have played very exceptional this season. Tyler Gordon and Thomas Torcaso won a doubles match as well. And then Ethan Clausen, Josh DeFries, and Andres Rojas each won 2 singles matches. So altogether, not terrible. Like we said, 7-0. that's kind of a deceiving score there with all these wins that we've had, success that we've seen from these matches. Moving ahead to Franciscan, they also lost 7-0 to Franciscan as well. Ethan Clausen lost 7-5 to Aiden Palladino, who is a very great tennis player for Franciscan, so not too big of a loss there, and Ethan Clausen did push Palladino a little bit in that match. Sam Norris lost 6-3 and 6-0 to Aaron Henline. Josh DeFries lost 6-1 in both of his singles matches, and Andres Rojas lost 6-0 in both of his singles matches. Looking ahead, we have Tyler Gordon. He lost 6-1 and 6-4. Thomas Torcaso lost 6-2 and 6-4. Ethan Clausen and Sam Norris lost 6-1 in both of their doubles matches, as well as Josh DeFries and Rojas lost 6-1 in their doubles matches. And then Tyler Gordon and Thomas Torcaso lost 6-3 in their doubles matches. So that one wasn't as good. Like we said, Grove City, we had some success. Franciscan, we didn't see as much. However, looking at freshmen like Ethan Clausen, who are pushing Palladino, who's a very successful tennis player at Franciscan, to a 7-5 match, is looking good for Waynesburg's future. If you look ahead to Westminster, Ethan Clausen and Sam Norris won 6-1 in their doubles match. DeFries and Rojas lost 6-3. Gordon and Torcaso lost 6-2. Norris ended up losing 7-5 in his first singles match and 6-2 in the second, but once again, more success there, pushing that match to 7-5. And then Torcaso lost 6-3 and 7-5 in his singles matches. So just some results there. Like we said, 7-0, losing all these games 7-0 is not really what you see whenever you watch the matches. You see a little bit more success than you see on the scorecard, but Ethan Clausen and Sam Norris is really kind of what's holding this team together right now.
We'll bounce back and forth between the men and the women. Women took on Carlo this past week. How did they do in that match?
Carlo, it was great. They won 4-3. Julia Luzar and Julia Umshares lost 6-1 in their doubles. Julia Corey and Claire Lace lost 6-1 in their doubles, but Allie Bailey and Aubrey Burns won 7-6. So great duo there. Both of those girls were on the women's basketball team last year. Aubrey Burns still on the team, Allie Bailey not this year, but she's done very well, and she is the Waynesburg Athlete of the Week this year for winning in her singles and her doubles matches. So congratulations to her. We also have Julia Umshare. She won 6-0 and 6-2 in her singles. Julia Corey won 6-1 and 6-4. Allie Bailey, like we said before, 6-2 and 6-4 in her singles. And Aubrey Burns finished up the day and won 6-1 and 6-4 in her singles. So overall, a lot of success for the women's team in that Carlo match.
Now, this is our first tennis segment here on Jacket Sports Weekly. So if you haven't been keeping up, Allie Bailey just won the PAC Athlete of the Week, like Mia just mentioned. Ethan Clausen took home an Athlete of the Week at Waynesburg, earlier in the season. So talk about those couple of players and any other standouts that we've seen over the course of the season to this point.
So like we said, Allie Bailey, Athlete of the Week, she's done very well the past couple weeks here. And she's done well really overall in her 3 seasons here at Waynesburg. She did not play tennis in high school at all. She came in to Waynesburg simply to play basketball, but Coach Pettit didn't have enough girls on his team that freshman year for her and just kind of reached out to anybody that was interested. And she decided to join, and she's just done really well for someone that's never played the sport before. So that's really great for her. And then as far as the men, like I said, Ethan Clausen and Sam Norris, both freshmen, have really played well this season. I actually talked to Coach Pettit on Saturday at our Woosen production for the softball team, and he said that Ethan Clausen and Sam Norris have kind of brought like an energy to the team that they haven't really seen before. It's just kind of been like, kind of just getting complacent with losing each year and not doing as well. But he said that this year, having those freshmen has really brought an energy that you don't see a lot when it comes to tennis.
The men heading forward are playing Allegheny and Geneva. What can we expect to see in those 2 matches, at least for the men's side of things?
So last season, the men's team lost to Allegheny 9-0, and they also lost to Geneva 9-0 as well. So 2 matches last year that weren't so successful for Waynesburg, but hopefully this year, with those people like Ethan Clausen and Sam Norris, hopefully the team can have a little bit more energy and hopefully get just a few wins there. They're currently playing, Allegheny right now. That match started at 2 p.m. We don't have results from that yet, though, so we will see how that ends up. But overall, I just think that going in with more energy and, like Coach Pettit said, bringing that energy onto the court is really what's going to help them beat Allegheny and Geneva.
The women playing St. Vincent now. What can we expect to see from that match on the women?
So last season, the women's team lost to St. Vincent 6-1. So once again, not as much success as they've been seeing. However, I think that same thing with the women's team, bringing that energy. Tennis is a very quiet sport, I think anybody that's going to watch a tennis match knows that tennis isn't typically the most hyped up sport. It's kind of just, easy, relaxed, easy thing to watch. However, I think people like Allie Bailey coming off this successful week, Aubrey Burns, Julia Umshares, I think that if they bring that energy, they can beat St. Vincent and just kind of turn the season around. As we know, tennis hasn't really had the most successful couple seasons, both men and women's, but I think that this year they've really kind of seen more of a rebuilding. Overall, the men's team is 2-7 and the women's team is 2-11. So, I mean, we've seen seasons where they haven't won any matches at all. So I think that 2 wins is way better than anything we've ever seen, and I think that that's kind of rebuilding. Coach Pettit also talked to me about some recruits that he's bringing in specifically for the women's team, and I think that that'll help as well.
Mia, we appreciate you coming up. Hopefully the men's and women's team bring us some energy over the next week.
Yes.
Next, we'll talk with Dean Shazer about baseball, who picked up their first conference win in a little while, right here on Jacket Sports Weekly. On the back half of this episode of Jacket Sports Weekly now, bringing on Dean Shazer to talk about baseball. And we are happy to report we have a win to talk about this week.
Let's
Little
go.
round of applause
Let's
for
go.
the guys. Okay, so they lost 2 against St. Vincent. They lost 2 against Bethany, but they took 1 of 2 against Westminster.
Yep.
Talk about those matches, what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like.
St. Vincent, 2 competitive ball games. 6-4, 7-5, 2 games that could have went your way if a few things go your way throughout the course of the game. Unfortunately, it did not happen that way, and we know the seasoned rivalry, and by season I mean like salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Seasoned rivalry over the past few years between those 2 schools, and couldn't get it done in either of those games, especially the second game of the 2 ended in 7 games due to the mercy rule. So what I saw going into the Westminster game, they put those 2 behind them. First Westminster game, it's been the trend, losing 14 of your last 15 going into that, or 13 of your last 14 going into that game. And then game 2 of Westminster, you end up getting the win. So they put everything behind them. Not much to talk about in the St. Vincent Bethany losses because, like I said, they're losses. And I'm sure these guys are sick of hearing me talk about them losing. So why don't we switch over to more positive? Also, before we do that, as Mia said, happy birthday, Flip.
Appreciate
Big
it.
21.
Appreciate it, yeah.
Don't get too dangerous.
Oh, whoa.
Big 21.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that here on the Jacket Sports Weekly desk. But talk about that second game against Westminster. Obviously ended in a win. Alec Anglemore, who's played in relief for much of the last couple of years, got the start in that game, ended up going 5 innings. Talk about him, how big of a confidence boost that might be for Anglemore moving forward. Also his first start since Florida.
Right after the Florida trip, Anglemore was suffering from a little bit of elbow tightness, which has factored into why he hasn't been on the mound that much, if at all. And he tossed 5 innings, allowed 3 runs on 8 hits, walked 2 and struck out 3. So overall, in your first start, like since Florida, those are great numbers. You can't be mad at 3 runs in 5 innings. You expect run support, and he ended up getting it late in the game, although it wasn't him. It was Mike McCready. McCready pitched 2 innings, allowed 1 earned run. So great innings of relief overall from not only McCready, but as well as Alex Nicholson. Nicholson got the 2-inning save. We saw a lot of that from David Bednar, if you're a Pirates fan, early in the year last year. So I guess Nicholson,
Don't bring that name up. No.
Nicholson doing his best Bednar of the start of last year impression.
Yeah.
And got the job done. Anglemore, though, you should be feeling good. I'll be talking to him about his elbow, see how that's feeling once I get into conversation. Then I'll probably bring it up next week when we have our show and mention it again. But got to be happy, especially after a four-run 8th inning from the boys. So the men.
We'll get to the comeback, but I'm really happy you brought up Mike McCready because I've talked to him. He's been disappointed by some of his performances this year. How much of a confidence boost is that for the sophomore? Right, he was kind of stuck in what he called a sophomore slump.
Right, slump, yips, whatever you want to call it. He got the yips, got the monkey off his back. I think I used that phrase again last week, but it has to feel good, right?
Yeah.
You do allow the run, but you come into relief for what has been a solid team in Westminster, and only allowing 1 run in 2 innings in relief, that has to feel good. For any guy who's been struggling, who's been there, if you've played baseball your life and you're in a slump, once you have that one good game, that you have everything off your back. And I'm going to relate it to the Masters. yesterday, Rory McIlroy, he double bogeys the first hole after being in the lead with 2 strokes, and he goes on to win the Masters after he hit some of the most incredible shots I've ever seen. So once you get like into that thing, like you don't have your best stuff. You got to find that one good stroke, that one good hit, that one good inning, that one good pitch, that one good swing to ultimately tell you that, okay, I still trust myself, I'm still here, and that's what Mike McCready did. And it feels good for Mike, especially if you know Mike. He's one of the best guys you'll ever meet.
Absolutely.
Most down-to-earth, humble, just great dude all around. And McCready getting those 2 innings in relief and not allowing much offense from Westminster and ultimately getting the hold and the team win, and for the first time in a while, it has to feel good.
He's also our 6th floor RM, so just a small shout out to that.
Right across the hall.
Literally right across the hall. So now talk about that 8th inning comeback, what that kind of meant to the team, this offense that has been struggling all PAC season and season as a whole long.
Yeah, the team being 1-10 going into that back half of the doubleheader against Westminster. Not much offensive production, as I mentioned. The Bethany games, they lacked offensive production. The St. Vincent games, if they score a few more runs and a few more less fundamental errors, you're going to feel, like I said, you have that monkey on your back. You don't know how you're going to feel. And then you go into an 8th inning, you're down 2 runs, and you score 4, ultimately propelling you to victory. That has to feel good for the team. I talked to Matthew Gaskell earlier today, and he's like, how about that win? Like, finally, we talked about it. Finally, you get that win. Finally, you get something going into the next 10 or 12 games to finish out the season. And being at the bottom of the President's Athletic Conference, you have to go on a run. So to win Game 2, honestly, is better than losing. So if it was vice versa, if they had won Game 1 and then lost Game 2, then it's still there. You end on a loss. But you lose Game 1, which obviously you wish it was a win, but you win Game 2, it's more upward momentum, more just happy-go-lucky feel. We're still in this. Even though you're 2-10, you're only 4 games out of a playoff spot. So if that team, I believe it's Teal in the 6th spot right now.
Yes.
They're 6-6. They could struggle. They struggle down the road. You pick up a few games here, win 5 of your next 6, 6 of your next 7.
And Waynesburg plays Teal as well heading down the stretch, so that could be big.
Exactly. And as they're going to play a lot of these PAC teams because it's President's Athletic Conference play. That's just how things go. Get a few wins here and there. I know it's not easy to get a win, but scoring 6 runs and 4 in the 8th, knowing that you have sparks in the late games and in clutch situations, you're going to need that to win games, and you're going to need that to have confidence, and confidence is going to win you games. So keep playing confident. You obviously, the vibe is there. The vibe is there because you won a game finally. It's the first time in probably over 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
So it feels good has to feel good for the guys, and finally got that win. So
Next up,
congratulations.
the team plays Grove City, which is going to be a tough doubleheader.
Right.
What are you expecting to see out of that? How do you think the team should approach it?
You got to expect good pitching, right? Grove City top 2 in team ERA in the President's Athletic Conference, so you have to play small ball. You have to be able to get runs with guys with 1 out and a dude on second base. You got to be able to get that runner who's on first with no outs. You have to score him somehow. If it starts with a bunt and then a single, sacrifice that out to get the man to second. You have to play small ball against this team. They don't have the greatest bats in the world, and your pitching has to be clutch and trust their stuff. Even if you don't have your top 2, top 3 guys who are going to go into the game, which I don't know how the rotation looks or how it's going to shape out and who the starters will be for the Grove City games. But 3 keys, I'd say: small ball, fundamentally don't mess up, play well in the field, no errors, and pitching, the pitchers have to trust their stuff. 3 keys to the game. I know everyone goes into the game thinking, all right, I'm going to trust my stuff. I know we got to get a hit. But just play small, play ball, pitch, and don't mess up in the field. No errors.
Dean, we appreciate it as always, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Sir, happy birthday.
I appreciate it once again. One more segment to go. It's Seth Adams talking softball next here on Jacket Sports Weekly.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
One final segment here on this jam-packed episode of Jacket Sports Weekly, and we saved the Seth for last. Not the best for last, because that would kind of offend all the other hosts.
Yeah, no
up
offense,
here.
everyone.
But we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do,
Three
Flip.
doubleheaders against Franciscan, Bethany, and Chatham. Talk to me about those performances as a whole, and then I'll ask you some deeper questions.
Yeah, so I mentioned it last time on the episode about Franciscan. They were playing actually while we were filming the episode, and they were demolishing them pretty good early on, and it finished like that. So 16-0, they finished in 5 innings, and then 18-3, they finished in 5 innings. We pretty much expected that from them. It was an easy, clean sweep for them, so they got that one out of the way. Now, this Bethany series is super interesting because I mentioned it last week how this is one that they got to at least split with, and they did to an extent. Winning the first game 4-2 in 9 innings. Sydney Wilson pitched all 9 of those innings. Alyssa Rager had a 2-run double in the 9th that got them the lead. And Wilson had 12 Ks. She only allowed 6 hits. She has just been absolutely insane lately. PAC Pitcher of the Week this week. I'll get into more of why she is that. But game 2, 8-8 halted due to darkness. A very interesting way of halting a game, I guess. But no lights at Bethany's Field. So since the first game took so long, they could not get the second game finished. Waynesburg was actually up pretty heavily in this one. They're up 8-4 at one point. Then they were down, or they were up 8-6, and then a 2-out single tied it 8-8, and that is when they called the game due to darkness. So an unfortunate plan of events for that second Bethany game. We're not too sure what they're doing in that one yet, but we will keep you posted on what we find out. And then they played Chatham, 8-1 win in the first one. Dominant win. Sydney Wilson starting on the mound again. 3-0 lead after 1 inning. Single by Grubbs got a run in. A sac fly by Cassie Trimble, and then a 4-run 6, 2-run RBI from D-Mark. Faust had a double and an RBI. Roberts had an RBI single. Wilson, another complete game. She only allowed 4 hits, 1 earned run. But then the second one, we didn't see Autumn Stemple. Might have had some injury going on, but then we saw Baker instead. But she had a pretty rough start. This was her 3rd career start. She only pitched 1.1 innings. She allowed 4 hits, 4 earned runs. Then Presley Meadows came in. She pitched 3 innings. And then Sydney Wilson came back in and pitched 2.2 innings. She only allowed 3 hits. But Waynesburg only had 7 hits themselves. D-Mark had a double. Rice had a double, but not too much offensively. And they lost that one 6-1. So
let's talk specifically about Sydney Wilson, because just 20 minutes ago, prior to filming this, we had some accolades. PAC Pitcher of the Week for the second time this season. I mean, no real surprise there. She had 25 strikeouts and under a 200 batting average against. But how well did she pitch this week? She pitched every inning against Bethany in the first game against Chatham. It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane, Flip. I mean, she's pitched 23 innings, around 23. That the website didn't really have how many she pitched in game 2 against Bethany. She started both those games, so it could be countless. But 23 innings is what I kind of gave a ballpark to. She's 3rd in innings pitched. She's pitched 90 innings. She's 5 strikeouts away from 100 on the year. She has a 1.79 ERA and a record of 11-3. She has been an animal. I even said it to her myself when I was on fixing a camera back at Wooston on the other day. She's insane, and she continues to put up these numbers so consistently. I think that's why she is so good, is how consistent she is. And it's just been so dominant. PAC Pitcher of the Week, it just came out while we're filming this like 20 minutes ago. So just impressive stuff. Continued and continued again. She just proves why she's so strong in this PAC. She's just so dominant.
Now, behind Sydney Wilson, the Yellow Jackets have some questions because Autumn Stemple has been struggling recently, maybe has an injury. Madison Baker started game 2. What's the answer for the Yellow Jackets moving forward behind Sydney Wilson, I think?
It's really a toss-up. I like how they started Baker in game 2 against Chatham, but she really didn't have her best start. She allowed up 4 hits, 4 earned runs, and only 1.1 innings pitched. It wasn't her best performance. Then Presley Meadows, she let up a couple of runs too. Those are the two options that I see Waynesburg having, and they both just didn't deliver as well as they could have. But Sydney Wilson came in, like I said earlier, at the end of the game and finished things up. But still, Autumn Stemple, we didn't see her at all against Chatham, and we didn't see her all against Bethany. I'm not too sure. It's really a toss-up. I guess you keep Baker, keep going, let her get a little more comfortable, maybe try Presley Meadows with a start. It's really a toss-up, like you said. It's kind of up in the air at the moment.
Now, on a positive note, the Waynesburg Yellow Jackets had an absolutely beautiful week offensively. I mean, they put up all these points runs against Franciscan, and basically until the last game against Chatham, they had the bats rolling. Who stood out with the bats this week for Waynesburg?
Well, I say it every week with Mesa Heitman and Grace Higgins. Grace Higgins is still third in the PAC. She has a .488 batting average. Heitman is ninth. She has a .432. But Alyssa Rager has been doing really well these last couple of weeks. Like I said, having that 2-run double against Bethany, getting them into the lead. So I'd say those three have really been the ones to really, I mean, we look at the averages here. Alyssa Rager, she's got a .360. Brianna Rice has been doing well. She has a .348. Bella DeMark, she has a .338. Dylan Roberts above 300 now. Half of the lineup, majority of the lineup is above 300. So everyone has been contributing to this starting lineup in the batting perspective. They have all been honestly pretty outstanding. The team itself is third in the conference at batting average with a .349 batting average. So I think it's really been almost everyone. But those three have really cemented why they have been so solid with Higgins, Heitman, and Rager. All three of them have contributed very well.
The team's next doubleheader is against Teal. What are some of your expectations for that matchup?
So this is where this division is so unbelievably stacked. You have 4 teams with 20-plus wins, 8 winning record teams. Everyone is battling for a spot. If you look at the conference, all of them are 6-6, 7-6 in that ballpark region. So every win is so important here. And Teal, as they sit right now, they're 9th in batting average, so not too well inside the box. They're 7th in ERA, but they're not a bad team. They're above 500, and they get things kind of done. Kaylee Risser, she has a .439 average, and they're going to probably go against Landis. She has a 2.6 ERA, but only 17 strikeouts. But they're coming off a sweep. They got swept by Allegheny 4-0 and 4-1. So they keep in it, and you could say that about every team almost, except for Franciscan. Sorry, Franciscan, but every team kind of stays in it other than them. They swept St. Vincent, they split with Bethany, they split with Geneva, they swept Franciscan, and they got swept by Grove City. The one game being a 2-1 loss, the other game being a 10-0 loss. So this Teal team, you want to sweep them obviously, but don't be surprised if you see a split here because this Teal team, they can battle. They find ways to win games, and they have been doing so. So even though they're 9th in batting average and 7th in ERA, they still have won pretty impressive games so far this season.
Seth, appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Appreciate it. That'll wrap up our jam-packed episode of Jacket Sports Weekly this week. We'll see you in the next episode to talk more about all your favorite Waynesburg sports. Have a good night.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.